Hello and welcome to the RYLACast, the official podcast of Camp RYLA District 5810. I'm Greg Tepper, sitting across the table from me, wearing a plaid shirt with hints of green, orange, and brown, maybe? I'm going to go with it's Josey. The man they call Josey.
Very observant. Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you? In your
Why'd you have to
gray
think about
sweater?
Are you doing okay? This is a safe space. Do you want to talk about it?
I don't know.
Just a lot.
Yeah. Just short words. It's really convenient for audio medium.
This is the podcast for Camp RYLA District 5810. Thank you for spending a little bit of your day with us. This is theoretically a leadership podcast, although it rarely inspires people to be better leaders. But we're trying, I promise.
We are trying.
And you know what we really need from you guys is some... we'll get to that in just a moment. Coming up in just a little bit, we've got a very special guest. Maybe... I can't say that because my brother's a Red Raider. So I can't say... I will say one of my favorite Red Raiders.
Well, I'll say... Well, I can't say that either because there's...
You've got people in your life who are...
Well, other Rylarians
too.
Raiders.
On the list of my favorite Red Raiders... This is it's Stephanie Helmberger. She's going to join us in just a moment. This is 100% true. When Texas Tech was making their run through the Final Four, I was texting her during after games. I would just text her with Raider. It was fun. Anyway, we will hear from Stephanie Helmberger coming up here in a little bit. Let me ask you a question.
Hit me.
You are called on the half court at an NBA game. Okay. Full house, 16,000 plus. Basketball game. NBA's basketball, I should say. I forget what this is not a sports podcast, and so I have to there are people who are like, what is NBA? Although I think the NBA at this point, people know what that is.
I think so.
National
it's not NDA.
Right. National Basketball Association, not non-disclosure agreement. You're called onto the half court, and you're given 10 shots from half court.
Oh, okay. Okay.
10 shots from half court. If you make one, you get $1 million. Okay? A lot of money.
Any one of the 10.
Any one of the 10. 1 out of 10.
Okay.
So if you make the first one, done. Okay? If you make one, you get $1 million.
Okay.
If you miss all 10, you spend 6 months in jail.
Okay.
Do you shoot?
Gen Pop? Juvie Gen Pop?
Gen Pop. Man, this is a weird podcast. Let's just say you're in county jail.
Okay.
County jail. 6 months in county jail.
Okay.
Do you shoot? Or you can get back up and walk back to your seat.
And nothing happens.
You can either play or not. The question is, do you play or not?
I think I play, but
Wow.
I have a skewed sense of optimism when it comes to sports feats.
Really?
As my wife can attest. I think
you want to play pool later for a lot of money?
Yeah, definitely. No, I think I do it. I mean, I know I do it.
Like a chance at $1 million. So what is, and I guess, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what the odds are that you make each one, right? Or so you're saying let's just say that every one that you take, you have a 10% chance, right, of making it. Theoretically, that does add up. That you don't have a 10% chance, but I mean, you would have an okay chance of making it,
right?
And $1 million is a life-changing amount of money, but 6 months in jail, there's a lot of a lot of things you'd have to tell your boss, and then you'd have to explain to people why you were in jail.
And it's 6 months.
6 months is not six. If it was a week, easy,
right? Yeah,
easy. I'll spend a week in jail, but I don't know. Anyway, what I'm saying is, what's your Twitter handle?
Twitter handle for RYLA.
No, how about yours?
Mine is Andrew_Utz.
Tweet Josey at Andrew_Utz and let us know if you would play that game. Would you take you get 10 half court shots. If you make one, you get $1 million. If you miss all 10, you spend 6 months in jail. Would you shoot? Let us know at Andrew_Utz.
We're going to be trending.
Yeah, I think so too. Just let us know. All right, let's get into our podcast, the actual reason for it here. So we have Stephanie Helmberger once again was tasked with picking a picking a topic for this week's podcast. And she chose feedback. So now the joke I made a little bit earlier about, well, makes a little bit more sense. Feedback. And we're not talking about the kind on your speakers.
Oh, Greg.
Yes!
You got it. Greg is doing a victory lap around the studio.
It's not like that.
Nice.
No, instead, we're talking about feedback as it relates to leadership and how it makes you a better leader or a worse leader or whatever. And here, with something to think about for feedback, is Josey.
Well, thank you, Greg.
You're welcome, Josey.
Well, now that it's not the audio feedback, I gotta just scrap.
Oh no, that's embarrassing.
Yeah. Feedback is free. You know, it doesn't cost anything to provide or receive feedback.
That is true.
However, for me, it's a very tough thing. You know, just if you think about from a personal level, it's a tough thing both to give and to receive. Mm-hmm. And I've thought about times in my day that feedback is available, you know, to either for me to give out or for someone to give me. And I know people don't take advantage of it. Mm-hmm. And the popular feedback, I think now, is the social media, like an airline loses my bag or a plane's delayed. That's a popular thing to provide feedback. But whenever, you know, you go to the grocery store and all the fruit is great, you know, the boxes are presented nicely and you have no problems running through the store, you don't give positive feedback, I imagine. Mm-hmm. So that's something to think about. I'm just kidding. That's not the whole thing.
You're hitting right to the core of something for me, but go ahead.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. I'm just telling you that as somebody who puts out a 400-page magazine,
yes,
and as somebody who is on television sometimes, you basically never hear people say, great job. What you hear people say is, you screwed this up. That's no fun. Go on.
Yeah. I did think about you a lot during this. I was like, man,
like you're singing my song. I'm like, uh-huh.
I know. Like, man, I read this magazine about football the other day, and it was just terrible.
And it had a typo in it.
One typo in 400 pages. Anyway, so I was trying to do some research, thinking, reading, looking, and there's 3 things that are associated with feedback from a personal level. Kind of ignorance, like I didn't know I needed feedback. Assumptions, like if you know, I may assume someone's given that feedback to the grocery store owner, positive or negative, or if the paper towels are out in the bathroom. Easy to assume that that's already been given. And the third is an insecurity. I don't want the feedback. Like I'm done. I've set that thing off. I don't want your feedback. I know there may be issues with it. Mm-hmm. And the idea that there's the right feedback given at the wrong time will have a negative impact. Uh-huh. Yes.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And
this I did not expect this episode to hit me right in the heart.
Oh man. Yeah. So Greg, tell us. No,
I just lay back on this chaise lounge and tell you my deepest, darkest thoughts.
No, I think I really did think about your job when I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notes and I see great leaders seek it on the front end. You know, and that. So I'm going to kind of tie all my thoughts in together. You can provide feedback at the end or at the beginning, and as a leader, I think it's important for someone to seek out that feedback. Say, hey, here's my plan. Here's my outline. You know, is that good? Is that bad? What do you see the holes in it? As opposed to, hey, here's my plan, and you run with that plan, whether it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 years, and then at the end say, hey, how'd we do? There's a lot more opportunity at the front end to get that feedback and make a better product or group decision as a leader. And to tie that in with you, Greg.
Oh, God.
I imagine that, I mean, I don't imagine. I know there's a lot that goes into providing a magazine that with the depth and coverage. I mean, it's incredible. It really is incredible. And I'm not a big high school football guy, but I'd flip through I'm a subscriber.
Thank you.
I flip through the book and think about the hours and weeks and for some people years of meetings and reviews and edits and mess ups sent to the printer that don't even make it, just the revision process. And then you guys just send it on out for the next round of feedback, which is public. Bill just reads it, finds a typo, and the one thing that he wants, the one paragraph he wants to read in the whole magazine.
That's the worst.
So what are your thoughts on feedback?
Yeah. My life is essentially, like, a lot of my career is simply managing feedback because, as you mentioned, like, the entire editing process is basically feedback. But here's one thing that I saw this story on, and I tweeted about it, at Tepper, by the way. I tweeted about it, but there's a story that somebody was at a magazine or at some sort of publication, and there was an editor who was coming over and giving some notes on, giving some feedback, giving some edits on an article that this young woman had written. A young woman apparently in her late 20s, and they got hung up on the word hamster. Okay. Let me ask you a question: does hamster have a P in it?
I don't think so.
It does not.
Okay.
I'll just tell you it doesn't. But and so it became this big thing. Okay. It became this big thing about, like, this girl's like, no, like, I have always spelled it with a P in it. Like, that's just the way that I was taught how it was and stuff like that. And the editor is apparently trying to be very nice and saying, well, no, that's not correct. We need to correct it. This is, accuracy is important, stuff like that. And this girl apparently has just, like, this meltdown and, like, ends up calling her mom on speakerphone, and it's just, like, a bad way of taking feedback, right? That's a bad way. But at the same time, I also, and I tweeted about this, I totally understand it, because especially when you take something very personally, and in a lot of ways, not to turn this into a literary podcast or a writing podcast, but, like, writing can be a very lonesome thing. It can be a very isolating thing, and so your work feels very personal to you. And it took a lot, and getting edits can be really hard. It really can. And I found, like, because it's not something if I would get edits on something, it was not that I made a mistake, it's that I am the mistake. Do you know what I mean? Like, you take it very personally. Okay. And so I totally understand that. And I still struggle with that. I still struggle with that. That sometimes there will be something that I write or something that I do that I don't want that feedback, because I know I screwed up. I promise. It just hurts. Sometimes it hurts. But at the same time, that's the only way you're going to get better. And especially from a leadership perspective, you have to make sure you're always hearing other people, because they're so. RYLA's great. I'm going to get myself in trouble by saying this. RYLA's great because it is such a positive atmosphere. But I will also say that, like, the world is not necessarily a positive atmosphere all the time, and that it's important to not always be surrounded by people telling you how great you are. Do you know what I mean?
Like the echo chamber.
You don't need the echo chamber. Exactly right. And so I need that. And so these tweets that people send me say, hey, idiot, you screwed up on page 298. I'm sorry. And it hurts, and I don't like it, because that's something that, I take very personally and something I work very hard on. But at the same time, I'm glad they pointed it out, because that's something that I'm going to correct in the future. Right. So it's this odd relationship that I personally have with it. And I don't know. This is a dumb episode. We shouldn't do it. I'm feeling very vulnerable at the moment.
I'll take it back and I'll spin it. Another thing, when considering feedback, I'll point back to the right feedback at the wrong time is not helpful. So just think back. The right feedback at the wrong time is not helpful. And also, as a leader, consider the source, and really challenge people that give you feedback that's not constructive. I get really frustrated when I say something and somebody says, well, that's a bad idea. Okay, well, tell me how to make it better. Really, I get really uncomfortable sometimes when receiving feedback, but I try to challenge, like, hey, okay, what's your idea, and help us, make this feedback constructive.
And the other thing for me is I am almost, this is just a personal thing, I am almost worse at taking positive feedback than I am taking negative feedback. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you? I don't know if that's something you struggle with, but I struggle with taking compliments.
Oh yes,
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
absolutely. If somebody comes and be like, "Hey, Josey, like that was like, for example, you gave a great presentation at camp."
Well, thank you.
Yeah. See what I mean? But that's tough sometimes. You know, you're like, yeah, okay, thanks, yeah. Like, then you start, I don't know. It's not necessarily just negative feedback that can be difficult to take, but also positive feedback as well. And that's a really important point. Is making sure that whatever feedback you have, whether it's positive or negative, is constructive. That there's some people who like the feedback sandwich idea, which is like positive, negative, positive.
Yep.
I don't know. I go back and forth on it. I think it's okay. In some instances, I think, especially if you're dealing with somebody who really that that they don't handle negative feedback well.
Yeah.
If you if for example, I don't think this is the case, but like if you didn't handle negative feedback well, I might say, Josey, your presentation was great. Maybe work on such and such. But I got to tell you, I really like the way you close it. You know what I mean? That kind of
positive, negative, positive.
Yeah, feedback sandwich. But at the same time, I don't want you to waste my time. Like, I can take it, So if you just say, "Hey, idiot," you need to go and don't say, "Hey, idiot," but hey, you made an error on 298. That's fine. That doesn't mean I don't like it. That doesn't mean I like it, but I know that it serves an important purpose. So.
Well, yeah, I guess something to think about is, maybe you may have found that error on 298, but did you find all the other good things on pages 1 through 297 and 299 through 400?
You don't ever hear about that. I promise you.
No, all right, so instead of tweeting at me, tweet at Tepper about all the good things about the magazine.
Please go buy a magazine. It puts food in my son's tummy.
And that's something to think about.
Thanks, Josey. That was wonderful. And now, may I give you some feedback on that? That was a great segment.
Thanks.
See, I told you it's weird. Thanks, Josey. We've got a big-time guest coming up here. We're talking with Stephanie Helmberger. You do not want to miss this conversation about architecture and other fun stuff. Stick with us here on the RYLACast. So, Josey.
Hey, Greg.
We're once again on the road.
Yes.
We've taken this show on the road. We're doing a remote show.
We're 1-0.
We are. I've got to say, so far the interviews that we've done away from our normal studio have been excellent.
Yes.
Let's see if we can top it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the table, Miss Stephanie Helmberger. Yay! I can't clap because I'm holding the microphone. We have a live studio audience, if you can tell. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, guys. How's it going?
How was the drive from Lubbock?
It was fine until I hit about Frisco, and, everything happened. The rain, that's everything. I don't want you to, just assume that.
By the way, this interview may not come out for, 2 months, so rain happened at some point.
Rain's been happening for, the past month, so I'm sure.
I bet rain happened before then, too.
I don't think
Who knows?
Who knows?
But Lubbock, home of the Texas Agricultural Mechanical University.
Yeah, that's where A&M is, right?
Oh, gross.
No?
No?
We're bad at this.
We are really
it is
bad.
home to Haboobs, though, right?
Yeah, one of them happened a week ago.
I know, it's crazy.
I was told.
It's just crazy.
It was a beautiful weekend, this weekend out there.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Josie's going to ask you to tell your RYLA story.
Yes. So, welcome to our podcast. What is your RYLA story?
Oh, my RYLA story. Okay. I went to camp back in 2011. When I left camp, I wasn't a person who got it immediately, but I knew it was good. So I don't think I 100% had bought into it yet, but I definitely was like, I know this is good, I know it's genuine, and I know I want to be a part of it. And so after that, I was selected to be on the student advisory for that next year, and then I think that year in my senior year of high school is when I actually started to understand, and that these were a group of people who were, giving up their time and volunteering and being of service to this organization that we all had a common goal in. I think that there's, and this is something just in doing interviews with people, I think I've realized, is that for some people, the hook for RYLA is the message, and the message clicks immediately
and then the appreciation for the people comes along with that. But I also think there's a number of people that it's the reverse. That you're like, oh, these people are like, it's infectious to be around these people. And then the longer you're around them, then the message like starts seeping, and you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I think there's two different paths.
I'm definitely people first, because that's what I recognized and I could see. And so there was something my mom said. She's a teacher, and she used to work at their school, and she's like, I'm in the land of beautiful people. And she didn't mean beautiful in the terms of physical looks, but just like goodness and genuine and people who want to help. And that was exactly, I think I told Keegan this, like my AC year. I was like, this is the land of beautiful people. And he started laughing at me. He's like, what does that mean? I go, they're good. Like, they are good first, and they have a common goal of trying to make things better. And we're all different. And so it's just like a mass of different people who want to help, you know?
I'm inspired.
I am inspired.
That's my mom. Shout out to
road
Debbie.
shows have been very inspiring.
I know. It's been very good. So then what do you do now? What's your deal? I
went to Texas Tech. Well, first I went to Collin College for my first year of college because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Then I went to Texas Tech. I graduated with my Bachelor's of Science in Architecture. And then I went back to school because it's amazing. And I loved it so much. Sarcasm for those who can't see me.
I was going to say, why are you doing air quotes on every one of those words? That's weird.
And then I got my master's degree, and I just graduated back in December of 2018. And so now I work for an architecture firm in downtown Dallas. I'm not an architect. You know, I don't have my license yet, so I can't claim that title. So for the firm I work for, I'm called an Arc 1. And so that's not a universal term through architecture, so it's a little confusing. Some people would call me a draftsman, a designer. I don't know. I could hold many titles depending on where I work, but I'm like an architect in training because I'm studying to become and get my license still.
So I've got to tell you.
Sure.
You're an engineer, according to Josey, and you're an architect. Mm-hmm. I've got to tell you, I am definitely the worst at math in this room. Like, undoubtedly.
I mean,
I'll speak for myself. We can hide behind calculators.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
And we can hide behind structural engineers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
There's other people for that.
So
we know enough to make sure that what we design will probably not fall down. They know enough to say, no, it will not fall down.
Oh, so it's just that extra level of, like sureness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Because I took like one science class and 1 or 2 math classes. I didn't have to take like calculus or something.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, you're an okay. I know you're not an architect, but like
Right.
you're
a designer.
You're a diet architect, and you only took 2 math classes.
Yeah, because we know a little bit of like everything that goes into that, and then we learn how to design.
I'm learning so much about architecture.
There's other jobs that their job is to make sure it doesn't fall over.
Okay.
Architects make it pretty.
Oh.
I mean, I could argue that, but that's another conversation.
Josey, you got a question?
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So, how? I know you're just starting out in your career, job, whatever word we want to call it. How have you used tools that you've learned at RYLA to get where you are today?
Again, going back to the people thing, I've used that the community that comes with it and the attitude of servitude. Servitude?
Yep, got it. Nailed it.
Hey, thanks.
First time.
I use those a lot. So, like I said, I went to Collin first because I didn't know what I wanted to do, and then I had this group of people around me that I kept reaching back out to kind of try to figure out what my future was. And so there were some people who said, maybe you should try this. And so then I agreed to try this. And then when it got hard, they're the ones I went back to and said, well, you made this promise to yourself. What are you going to do about that, basically? And so, the people kept me on track when I didn't want to do it anymore. And then, in architecture, especially in school, you give up a lot of your personal time. And you're of service to this craft. And so, I did dedicate myself to it in school, and that was like my number one for a really long time. And so now that I'm out, I'm reaching back to RYLA to figure out how my life is post-school and in my young professional life. So that's still something I'm discovering. I'm trying to look more to what we teach the students and see if it can actually start grabbing the concept rather just relying on the people. And so, that's still something I'm learning right now.
Do you? So you're coming back to camp. By the way, spoiler alert, we are recording this podcast before a RYLA staff meeting in June. I hate to pull back the curtain. And so you're coming back to camp.
I am.
Why do you feel like it's important for you to keep coming back to camp? Like you've got what you were going to get from it.
I think the most important thing is for me to always stay in touch with, quote unquote, the young people of the world, because you could argue I'm still young, but I'm not in high school.
I will absolutely argue that you're still young.
The kids in high school these days are going through something so much more different than I did, and so it's always being able to recognize how smart they really are, no matter what social media shows, no matter what just the internet in general shows. And I really like the idea that, you know, we are still showing the same message that we showed 20 years ago or whatever to these students, that, you know, there is good in the world no matter how different everybody is. Mm-hmm. And so I always come back to just have that refresh, because once I get immersed in my world with my friends and my work and just what's going on in my life, it's really good to step outside and see how much even I am affecting just a bunch of other people.
You chose the word feedback from our big, stupid list of words.
I did. It was a nice list of words.
Okay, why did you... Well, thank you. I found it on the internet. What,
you didn't look that up.
What,
Wow,
you made it up in a way.
I mean, no. I found it on the internet.
Did you put, like, RYLA and then do, like, synonyms?
No, the God's honest truth of the matter is, like, I looked up, like, leadership values, and I went to like 6 or 7 different sites, and I like collated it all into one list.
That's a
anyway,
solid 30-minute research project.
Anyway, I am really ruining the mystique of this podcast.
Award-winning.
What award did we win? You'll tell me later. What?
It's a secret, actually.
You chose the word feedback. Why?
I did. Feedback is something I've learned in the past 4 to 6 months. Something I value more than I thought I did. So feedback in the sense of. Am I doing it right? Because if I'm not doing it right, I don't want to waste my time, and I don't want to waste your time. And if I keep going down this track and I'm not getting feedback, and I'm like looking over my shoulder, say, hey, like, is whatever I'm doing okay? And I don't get a response, I'm never going to be sure. Also, this may just be my own issue with not having confidence in everything that I do, because I am always looking for that yes or that no. Just I need it blunt. And then I also think that feedback's is the basis of communication, or vice versa, right? Because you need someone to always be telling you how they feel about something you're doing, and you should do that to them. Like, I have issues asking for feedback because I just want someone to read my mind and just be like, yeah, Stephanie, you're doing so great today. Did you know that? You're like really good at your job. Like, I need that, and I've come to realize that these past 6 months working in the professional world, because I'll be on projects and they'll be like, hey, we need you to work on this one drawing, and I'm like, I don't know how to do that, but I'll figure it out. And so then I'm just doing it, and I'm waiting for someone to tell me if I'm doing it right or wrong, so that I can either dive into it and put my headphones on and go, or I can stop, fix it, and not waste anybody's time. So feedback to me is just something that, like, has come forefront to my world. And feedback good or feedback bad, it works. We need that.
Well, Greg, do you have any other questions before I ask the final question?
I've got a closer question after you're done asking to plug something.
So, like Greg just ruined it.
I told you, this show is...
man.
It's amazing.
Yeah, sounds like
Season 1. Gotta work out the kinks.
Welcome to the podcast.
Oh my gosh.
At the end of the interview, would you like, this is the time where we ask our guests to plug something, whether it be a recipe, coffee shop, movie, film,
person,
podcast.
I've got like 1.5 things to plug. So
Do it.
Into it.
Okay, the first one, and I experience this daily because I drive down 75. When you merge onto a highway, it's like a zipper, right? Each person takes a turn.
The zipper.
And you just zipper it up. If you're merging on, or you're getting off, or you're in that lane, it's like a zipper. It works well. Don't try to just like hug behind the person in front of you and squeeze on, because that's what causes accidents, guys.
We've got a non-zipper here by his side.
No, I'm just like, so we asked you to plug something.
That needs to be told to the world.
You're speaking truth to power. Okay, so
she's
that's
providing feedback to the world.
So
look at that.
So the first thing is traffic patterns. Cool. What's your other thing you'd like to plug?
That's the half.
Why do you say cool like that? That is the half. Thank you. The real plug is Lizzo. Do you guys know Lizzo?
I do not.
Lizzo.
Okay.
She's an artist, a musician. She's only got like an album out right now. I don't know a lot about her, but I love her already. And people hearing this might have been listening to her for like a year. I've been listening to her for like 2 weeks. She's got music that's just really empowering, especially for young women. A lot of fun. I'll listen to her at work when I really need to just like stay upbeat and get some work done. And she's got a few songs out there. One of her songs is on the Netflix movie, so
so she's in it big. That's what you're saying.
Big. But so that if you don't listen to Lizzo, people of the world, you should listen to her. She's great.
That's 2 excellent plugs. I want to be very clear. 2 excellent plugs.
1.5, Greg.
1.5 excellent plugs. Let's cut to the core of the matter, and the reason we have you on is that you are pretty much the world's foremost expert in baristaing.
My past life,
yes. And being a barista. How long were you a barista at Starbucks?
About 5 years.
About 5 years. That is amazing. I want to know everything, but we don't have time for that. So my question to you is, what is the order that when someone walks up and they order this, you go, "God, really?" Is there an order that just like makes you like drives you crazy as far as like
you're talking about order like when they say things to order?
Yes.
Oh, or you mean like a real extravagant?
Like a real extravagant, crazy drink is what I'm looking for. What's the craziest one?
First off, it depends on my mood, right? If I've been working. Starbucks put me through college. Let's just throw that out there.
Yeah.
So, that time of my life, and then I was a sassy barista. But the orders that'll
That's the title of this podcast now.
Sassy barista.
This is the title of this episode, The Sassy Barista.
It's a presidential and a coffee podcast?
Yes, it's a presidential and coffee podcast.
I love that. Okay. First off, if you order a Frappuccino and you think it's coffee, it's not. It's just a lot of sugar with like a coffee extra. I will not downplay it anymore to people who want to drink that. You do you.
Yeah, to each their own.
But if you come up to the register and you're like, I need my coffee today. I need a vanilla bean Frappuccino. That's ice cream, folks. That's ice cream. Just not good ice cream. Okay? If you want something with coffee, though, and you don't know what to get, just ask, because that's their job, is to help you. It's like the people at Home Depot who can point you in the direction of tools. Instead of walking around like I do sometimes, thinking I know where they're located.
That you can provide feedback to them.
Look at
So
that. Full
much feedback.
circle.
Standing up. I'm standing up.
He's fist pumping. It's
Fist
like Rocky
pumping.
over
You called
here.
a shot.
It's fantastic.
Basket.
Stephanie, thank you for being our guest.
Thanks for being
Ladies
having
and
me,
gentlemen,
guys.
Stephanie Helmberger. And our thanks once again to Stephanie Helmberger for being our very special guest. She is. I cannot vouch for this because I don't think I've ever stepped foot in a building that she's built. Mm-hmm. But she's an excellent architect. I'm comfortable saying.
Yes.
She's like. Well, let's put it this way: if you liked the map in the 2019 Camp RYLA binder, she designed that. So, obviously knows what she's doing.
Absolutely.
At least with camp maps. Anyway, appreciate Stephanie Helmberger stopping by and chatting with us. It is my turn to give you something to leave you with. So this has been a very personal episode for me. And because a lot of my job is feedback. A lot like I'm in many respects kind of a forward-facing person for my company. And as a result, like that makes me both the target of criticism and also the like receiver of praise. Like I get way too much praise and way too much criticism. That's probably the best way to describe it. But I found this article from this, apparently, I don't know, I literally, this is 100% true. I just Googled like feedback leadership, and there's someone. It's Jody Michael Associates. Okay, this is apparently it's career coaches. Okay, it's a bunch of career coaches, and the headline is how to handle negative feedback as a leader. Okay, and a lot of my feedback, as you can probably imagine, is negative, and I've taken this to and I like lists, as you can tell. But there are 5 things, and I want to talk us through like an example of receiving negative feedback and how we can apply all of these things, all these steps. Okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
So let's just say that we hear Okay, this is one that I struggle with, and I've mentioned it on the podcast before. I struggle with returning emails. Remember? I said this? Okay.
I do remember.
So let's just say that somebody came up to me and said, hey, Tepper, dude, like you are not good at returning emails. You've got to get better at it. Let's just start there, okay?
Okay.
Like you did not return my email. Step 1, manage your emotional reaction. That's like, I think that's, I'm glad that they list that first because I think that's so key, is that it would be really easy for me to snap at you and be like, well, I'm just busy. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Or to worry like, oh my gosh, is this going to cost me my job, right? You can react with anger. You can react with fear. You can react with a lot of different, like whenever you get this negative feedback.
Right.
You've got to manage that. And you've got to realize that chances are this feedback is not something that's going to be that big of a deal. I think that's important. Like it is, and you should take it seriously, but not necessarily go jump off a bridge because of it.
Right.
That's it. So there's one. Second, owning the content. All right, what did you actually say, right? Hey, Tepper, you're not very good at returning emails. Okay, I made a mistake. I need to start returning emails. I need to do that. Owning, once you get your emotions in check, find a way to objectively process that and say, how can I become better at this place where I'm weak? How can I become somebody who returns emails better, right?
Right.
3, soliciting input from others. Josey, I always notice that whenever I email you, you always email me like back. It may be an hour or something like that, but I always hear back from you. How do you do it? You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'm not actually asking you, but although if you have any tips.
I mean, I had a very sarcastic response.
Which would
have made you feel bad. I was like, well, Greg, you're the most important person in my inbox, and so I always make sure to respond to your emails.
My man. Okay, soliciting input from others. I like that. So, we talk so much about leadership, right? It's about just gathering information from other people. How do you do it? What makes you so good at this? Find somebody who's good at something that they're saying that you struggle with, and go get that input from them. 4, taking action. I'm somebody who has to set up rules for myself, and so one thing that I've been doing is no matter what, every morning when I come into the office, the first thing I do is I get to inbox 0. I go to, no matter what, even if I have 60 emails, and that may mean I don't get to anything else before 11 o'clock, but I got to get to inbox 0 and I've got to reply to all of them, even if it's just, okay, cool, hey, sounds great, thanks, whatever. That kind of stuff, taking action. And 5, and I think this is important, is looping back to the source. Okay?
Okay.
So, let's just say that somebody came up to me and said, I don't return emails. Next time they email me, maybe the next time I run them, say, hey, by the way, one thing I've been working on is returning emails. I really took your feedback to heart. Do you feel like I'm getting better at this? Do you feel like I've improved at this? And stuff like that. I think that's super important. And to me, when I read this, I was like, this is a really interesting and I think thoughtful way of going about managing negative feedback. You're inevitably going to have people, well, maybe not you guys, but I'm inevitably going to have people who say that I'm an idiot, and that's okay. That comes with the paycheck, right? But I will say that when you're talking, because I don't even consider that feedback. You know what I mean? If somebody just says, "Hey, Tepper, you're an idiot. You hate Texas A&M," which does happen a lot, guys. I don't actually hate your favorite football team. Anyway, but that's not feedback. That's just saying you're an idiot, and it's not grounded in reality. It's not grounded in a way that they want this to be better, right? They want me to be better. That's, I think, an important caveat here. But when you get that negative feedback, especially from a source that you believe is in it for the right reasons, I think those 5 steps that I laid out, managing your emotional reaction, owning the content, soliciting input from others, taking action, and then looping back to the source. I think that's actually I'm going to start trying to do that. Okay. This is a really personal episode for me.
I like that. I'm sorry it got so personal.
Thanks a lot, Stephanie. That's going to do it for us. Thank you for spending a little bit of your day with us, and thank you so much to Stephanie Helmberger for being our very, very special guest. Please rate, subscribe, comment to this podcast, and please tell your friends. And here with an antiquated way to tell your friends how to support this podcast is Josey.
Yeah, go ahead and take a highlighter, remove the little ink packet, and write it on a piece of paper, slide that piece of paper where the ink packet was, and then pass the highlighter to your friend. So it looks like you're maybe passing just a highlighter, but you're actually spreading news about award-winning podcasts.
I have a lot of questions about people you're passing notes to.
I mean, I wasn't passing the notes.
I was going to say, because I was not either. That is something I've never heard of.
Really? No, people, give us feedback. Did you ever hear... I know this was a thing. It was the old highlighters that are kind of a little bit fatter than a
I know what you're talking
pen.
about. Yeah, like there's a brand name that Marks a lot or something like that.
Something like that.
Anyway, yeah, do that. Thanks very much for spending a little bit of your day with us. And Josey, thanks for your courage.
Thanks, Greg.
We'll see you next time on the RYLACast.